The Mystery of Pentecost. Let's start with Pentecost as part of the Paschal Mystery. So we talk a lot about the Paschal Mystery in terms of Easter, and we focus primarily on death and resurrection of Jesus. Now, the Church teaches that the Paschal Mystery, which Paschal meaning Easter, is something that is much broader than just what happens in and around Easter. So we do have the life, suffering, death, resurrection, and ascension. Now, we're already, 50 days or whatever after Easter, almost 50 days after Easter with the ascension. And then we have Pentecost. This is all a part of the Paschal Mystery. So our Easter season, rightly so, extends all the way to Pentecost. Pentecost is its own feast day. It commemorates the, if you will, calendar-wise, the official end of Easter, but it's also the great beginning of something. Even though Jesus dies and rises and leaves or ascends, he doesn't abandon us. And he promises his disciples that I will not leave you orphans, he says. I will send the Holy Spirit to you, and he will guide you into all truth. And this Holy Spirit, third person of the Trinity, is who comes to the apostles at Pentecost. While they're in the upper room, they're praying. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is there, and some of the other disciples. And then, as the book of Acts reads, like tongues of fire, and with a mighty rush of wind, the Holy Spirit settles on the apostles. Now, Pentecost wasn't just an event for the apostles. It's an event for the church. And it's an event for the church's life, which is ongoing. And specifically, the life of all of its members. If you think about our sacramental life, we always say, oh, baptism begins that journey of faith. Well, it does, but who's that giver of the baptism? Well, Jesus is the one who baptizes. Well, of course, but through the power of the Holy Spirit, right? Think about at the Mass, at the Eucharistic prayer, when we hear, we call it the doxology, through him, with him, and in him, in the unity of the Holy Spirit, etc. So what happens in sacraments happens in and through Jesus with the Holy Spirit, according to the providence of the Father. So sacraments aren't just Jesus acts, it's the Trinity acting. Pentecost isn't just the Holy Spirit acts, it's the Father and the Son sending that Spirit. And our lives are imbued with that gift of baptism. But it's the Spirit who gives, through Christ, that gift of baptism. And so when we start with that life of the Spirit there. Now, some people who have not been baptized, and Paul talks about this in the book of Acts, have already received the gift of the Holy Spirit in terms of faith. They're already believing in Jesus as the Messiah, but they have not received baptism. So baptism then is that fullness not only of the sending of the Holy Spirit, it's not only deepening that initial gift of faith, it's also reclaiming that child or that adult as a child of God. It's that rebirth and that forgiveness of sins. So the Holy Spirit is a giver of sacraments. It's the power, if you will, through the sacraments, but it is a person, and it works with Jesus and the Father to give us life. The Spirit also is someone that we can relate to, and we'll talk about that in the third topic, but it is a great gift to the church, and the gifting of that Spirit really begins fully with Pentecost. So it does mark the end, if you will, of the Paschal Mystery, but it really does mark the beginning of life in the Spirit for the church and for us as disciples.
What you said resonated with me in a few different ways, Deacon Matt. And one is distinguishing between events and this lifelong process or journey of faith, and how baptism sort of begins our journey, but it's not until confirmation that it's fulfilled. And I remember a deacon at a parish that I worked at, and he would do the confirmation talk for the parents. And he would always ask the parents, what's being confirmed at confirmation? What's being confirmed? And they would look around because, no one wants to give the wrong answer. So no one says anything. But he would say, what's being confirmed is the promise that you made at your child's baptism, right? To raise them in faith and to infuse them in the life of the church. And now they're, through the presence of the Holy Spirit, sending of the Spirit on them, it's confirming that promise that you made so that they can now go and live that life as Christian Catholic adults. So,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, I love that too. That's always stuck with me.
So why don't we go a little bit deeper into this experience of the Holy Spirit coming into our lives? So what we've got set up for you now is a little video, a little Visio Divina, and we'll also play a Gregorian chant called the Veni Sancte Spiritu, or Come Holy Spirit. And we're dropping the link now that'll take you to those lyrics in English, so you can read those lyrics if you wish, but on your screen you'll see some wonderful images of the Holy Spirit.
Vom Himmel erstrahlen, Veni Sancte Spiritus, Veni Sancte Spiritus, Veni Sancte Spiritus, Veni Sancte Spiritus,
Oh, that was beautiful. If you were thinking, is that a different language? Yes, this is Taizé prayer, which they're known for their international chants. So they'll incorporate all sorts of languages into their praise and prayer. So thank you so much, Steve, for putting that together. That was beautiful.